All right, so I want to give everyone a sense of where we are. We affectionately refer to our community as Aggie Land. We're the Texas A&M Aggies, and so we often say, "Welcome to Aggie Land." We are located, so College Station is where the university is located, and that is in the center of the triangle you can see there. Um, Dallas, San Antonio, and Houston. So we're in the center of three of the largest cities in the country, and certainly largest cities in our state of Texas. Our community population between the two cities, we have two cities here, Bryan, College Station, that are often referred to together as sister cities, or sometimes people refer to our community as BCS. And between those two cities, it's about 273,000 people. Texas A&M's enrollment is right at 74,000, 74 and a half. We're making us one of the largest institutions in the United States and maybe in the world, at least in terms of like a in-person campus. Our graduate enrollment is about 15, just over 15,000 students. It's about 21% of our overall student population. And we're a very large campus, spread over 5,500 acres, and our R1 research intensive university. So that gives you hopefully just a little sense of orientation in our community. Um, our College of Architecture in particular is about 3,200 students. That's both undergraduate and graduate enrollment. Our undergraduate enrollment, students pursuing their bachelor's degrees, are 2,500 students, and our graduate is about 500, close to 600 students now. And you can see we're made up of three departments: the Department of Architecture, the Department of Construction Science, and the Department of Landscape Architecture and Urban Planning. And you can see from those numbers there what the sort of distribution of students are across our programs. Our master's programs are larger, over 100 students in those programs in each department. And then our doctoral programs range between, generally between 40 and 50 students total enrolled in each of those doctoral programs. I also want to share a little sense, since you didn't get to visit our campus in person, of just where our campus is and where we're all located. We are a large campus, like I said, and we also have, spread out and grown quite a bit just within our college as well. So our buildings are located on the main campus of Texas A&M University, and we have, I think, a total of nine buildings across campus that we occupy. But the ones here on this map are a few of the main ones where our students, especially, are located. But I wanted to show this picture just to give you a sense of I guess, the scale of our campus. We're walking back and forth quite a bit, so it's about a half a mile between some of our buildings. And it's a nice experience, I think, to get to see more of the campus and interact with students in some of the other spaces as well. Let me also walk you through the actual programs that we offer within our college. And I know later in the day, you're going to get to spend a little bit of time with the program coordinators for the programs that you're interested in. And we have some of them here as well this morning that you'll get to hear from. So within the College of Architecture, we have in architecture, we have the Masters of Architecture program, which includes a career change or a 3-year track as well. We have an MS architecture and a PhD in architecture. In construction science, we have the MS in construction management, which is offered both in person and online. And we also have the PhD in construction science, which is our most recent addition as far as our graduate programs. But I think in its third or fourth year now, the doctoral program in construction science. And then we also have in the landscape architecture and urban planning department, We have a Master of Land and Property Development program, which again is offered both in person and online. We have a Master of Landscape Architecture program, a Master of Urban Planning program, and then the PhD in Urban and Regional Sciences. And those three listed with the asterisks next to them, the Master of Architecture, Landscape Architecture, and Urban Planning, are the ones that can lead to, professional licensure or certification, depending on, those are the ones that qualify you to sit for, to become a professional licensed architect, landscape architect, or planner. All right. I also want to share some of our people. So, like I said, I'm Katie Reed. I'm the Assistant Dean for Graduate Programs, and I am one of a team of deans. Our Dean, Dr. Ivy Hu, Dr. Chanam Lee, who's also a faculty in Landscape Architecture and Urban Planning, Professor Shelley Holliday, who's in architecture, Leslie Fagenbaum, who's with construction science, and then Kevin Gustavus is our business dean. And I see Wei is here, so I'm going to let him introduce himself. And if you want to briefly share anything about your program or any of the rest of your team. So Dr. Yan.
Thank you, Dr. Reed. So I actually prepared a slide. Probably I will present with Dr. Chris Hunter later to the participants.
Oh, great. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, thank you for joining us here. Dr. Yan is the interim department head for architecture, and he will, like he said, share more later this, well, it's still going to be this morning for us. All right, for construction science, I'm not sure if we have, I can't see everyone at the same time that I can see my screen. I'm not sure if any of the construction science faculty are on.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay, thank you. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi. Yeah, absolutely. My name is Anthony Pusick. I've been with A&M now for over a year, and it is a great, great institution. I can't say enough about it. But from a standpoint of construction, we do offer a wide variety of programs at the graduate level with the master's in person as well as the online master's program, in addition to, as Katie referenced, the PhD in construction management, especially if you're looking to go into higher education. Appreciate everyone being here this morning and looking forward to meeting you in the breakout rooms.
Thank you. And then we also have landscape architecture and urban planning. And I know that Dr. Newman was not able to make it. Evis, do you wanna represent the the gang?
Yes.
Anything else to share?
I will share more, right, in the breakout rooms. But I saw that there's a lot of you interested in planning. So I really look forward to meeting you and talking to you specifically about the Masters of Urban Planning, which I have the privilege of coordinating. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I also want to try to give everyone a little sense of our facilities on campus, since we're doing this virtually, trying to still share some of the information about what it might be like to join our campus. So as I mentioned, we are spread out in several buildings across campus, but each of those has space dedicated in classroom space, research space, obviously faculty offices and so on, but we also have some maker spaces as well. So related to, I'll share a little bit more details about the maker spaces, but we have a campus nearby called Rellis that is maybe 20 minutes or so away. And out that space, we have a construction field lab. And we also have the Innovation Hub, which is large scale fabrication. We have programs in other communities across the globe. In McAllen, Texas, we have a construction science undergraduate program. We also have Study Away in Bonn, Germany, Barcelona, Spain, Florence, Italy, Rome, and then London, England. And you can see most of those are for our undergraduate students. We have a requirement in our college that undergraduates must spend a semester away. But there are some opportunities occasionally for graduate students, and often graduate students, a small number, right, can go and serve as a TA basically at one of these sites. So it is a nice opportunity on our that we also offer here. So as far as the maker spaces, this is what I wanted to share a little bit of. We have those also in several different buildings on campus, and some of them are uh, the only location where you can get certain things made, but some of them we have duplicate just to be available to students where they are. So in our building, which is called Langford Building, we have 3D printing, laser cutting, and some sort of pop-up maker spaces. In another building on campus, we have a complete wood shop, additional 3D, like large scale 3D printing up to a cubic meter, laser cutting, and then CNC machines. At the construction field lab, we have a field office and classroom, and a large covered pavilion where the purpose of this space is to do larger scale construction kind of research and experimentation, to have an open space for some of that. And then also at Rellis campus, we have, like I said, the large scale fabrication with CNC machines, lathes, wood shop. A small wood shop is out there, laser cutting, a water jet cutter, and then a full metal shop where you can fabricate. And so how those spaces are used, sometimes faculty will have a project that is going on there where, for courses, you're expected to fabricate, but it's also available for students to, if you have some creativity and interest in making, you can use those spaces. And for the most part, you pay for the materials, and that's at cost. So that is also just a place for students to be creative and make, in addition to completing course assignments and so on. And I think I'm on time for what we had hoped for. I'm going to move on to the admissions panel. Am I right, Dr. Garcia? This is where I should be.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Before we actually get into that, are there any, I can't see everything at the same time. Is there anything in the chat or any questions that I should pause for?
I don't see anything. Yeah.
Okay.
And
All right.
I think that we're still waiting, from some of the panelists. So maybe people might have questions while we maybe wait a few minutes because they're invited at 8:20.
Oh, okay.
I say Shannon also. So
Maybe, do you want to start with introductions? I see Shannon and Dr. Van Zant and Dr. Hunter. Do you want to at least start? I'll start with Dr. Hunter. Do you want to introduce yourself? And maybe by the time they do, the other panelists will.
Thank you, Dr. Reed. Can you all hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Howdy, everybody. My name is Dr. Chris Hunter. I'm Associate Professor of Practice in the Department of Architecture and the Director of the Professional Programs in our department.
All right, you want me to go ahead? Okay.
Sure.
And I'm Shannon Van Zant. I'm a professor in the Department of Landscape Architecture and Urban Planning. I don't actually coordinate any degree programs right now, but I have in the recent past directed the Urban and Regional Science PhD, as well as the Master of Urban Planning, although Dr. Garcia is the coordinator now and she has the most current information on that. So welcome, everybody. We're glad you're here.
Thank you both. And I'll see if Dr. Lee or Dr. Ali.
don't think Dr. Lee accepted the meeting invitation, but Dr. Lee did.
Okay. I'll give it another minute. Are there any questions from the group?
There was a note that just popped up that Dr. Lee's having problems um, joining the meeting.
Oh, okay.
She may need the passcode. I had to sign in and then wait for a passcode to come into my email before I could join.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Or just respond that it's what it is.
Yeah, I believe the passcode was just COA, all caps.
Yep. I'm sending that to her.
Thank you.
I had the same problem.
Yeah. I'm glad I gave it a couple of extra minutes.
Thanks.
Oh, here's the question in the chat. My chat. So tell me what a CSE background, computer science and engineering? Yes. Okay. So I'll answer that question. No, there's no barrier you don't have to have a particular disciplinary background to come into the urban and regional science program. However, we do require a master's degree in anything for admission. And, for a lot of the things that we're doing with digital twins and AI and natural language processing, a computer science background is very, very appropriate.
Oh, I see Dr. Lee now. Hi, Dr. Lee.
Hey, sorry, I was having some trouble logging in. I was going between Zoom and Microsoft Teams. Sorry.
No problem. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Song Lee, Associate Professor and Associate Department Head of Landscape Architecture and Urban Planning. I teach primarily in the landscape architecture programs, but I also serve on the URSC committee.
Excellent. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and we'll start with some of the questions that we had laid out for you all. Do you want to just share a little bit about how you got into your specialization, your field? Shannon, I'll start with you.
Okay, sure. So my undergraduate degree is the pre-professional degree in architecture from Texas A&M, actually, many, many years ago. And I actually started a master's degree in architectural studies, which is the research degree for architecture. But after about a semester, I began to recognize that, yes, I was interested in doing research and wanted to learn research skills, but that I was also more interested in how people reacted to their spaces than in the aesthetic design of spaces. And that's when I learned about urban planning. And like a lot of people, or at least a lot of American students, they may not have heard about urban planning as a possible degree path until graduate school. For many, many years, especially when I was a student, there were only master's degrees in urban planning. You couldn't really get an undergraduate degree in urban planning, although that has changed now. Now we have a lot of undergraduate degrees in urban planning. But I transferred into the Master of Urban Planning program, but within the same department or within the same college, so a different department, but within the same college, and just kept going in urban planning and became interested in housing and particularly affordable housing, housing for vulnerable populations, and eventually the interaction between housing and disasters, and how housing recovered after disasters, and particularly how the households themselves recovered after a disaster. So that's how I got into urban planning.
Thank you. Dr. Hunter, do you want to share a little bit of your background?
Yes, I earned a Bachelor of Architecture degree from the University of Cincinnati many years ago, and moved to Dallas, where I practiced with a number of large architecture firms on just about every type of architectural business sector here, from higher education, mixed-use development, professional, historic preservation, healthcare. I've kind of got the gambit here across the board with large scale building design, and I did that for many years. And I had a growing desire to teach with a lot of the things I was doing on a volunteer basis with working with young people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Um, and after many years of practice, I decided to make a kind of a massive shift in my career by going to grad school, and I wound up at Texas A&M. So in 5 years, I earned a Master of Science degree as well as a PhD, both at A&M. I taught 5 years as a tenure track professor at Mississippi State University, and eventually found my way back here a couple of years ago. So in the nutshell, that's pretty much the path, and I'm glad I'm back. It's a great place to be.
So are we. Thank you. And Dr. Lee.
I got my bachelor's and master's in landscape architecture. And I'm a international student, so I got both of my degrees in China. And then I got very interested in the science and mechanism behind people's interaction with the environment. So I was interested in learning, what makes people feel better, what help like children develop physically and mentally. So I got very interested in environmental psychology and environmental health. So I did a PhD at the University of Illinois with a lab. It was in landscape architecture also, but the focus was environmental psychology. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. I think the next question is the one that everyone really wants to know the answer to, right? The magic answer to what are you looking for when you're reviewing applications? What makes a strong application, and how can students help themselves stand out and really put their best strengths front and center in an application? Dr. Hunter, do you want to start from a perspective in the architecture program?
Yes. For in general, the portfolio is typically the top item. I mean, we look at obviously a resume, statement of purpose, transcripts, that kind of thing. But the portfolio in a design field is really the statement. It's the point where we get an opportunity to see how students resolve design issues, any kind of questions or matters here that are presented in a design studio as a problem, a design problem. We look for the process of how a person thinks, how they get from a blank sheet of paper to the development of what we call Part T or ski. So basically the central core of what the design is going to be moving forward in the process. And rolled into all of that, the transcripts that provide us a bit of a glimpse here of how academically a students perform, not only in studios, but in other courses as well. For me personally, the statement of purpose is a big one as well. It gives the opportunity for a student to kind of introduce himself or herself and tell us a little bit about who they are, why they want to pursue graduate school. Hopefully, they would state why they want to come to Texas A&M. So those are right off the bat some of some of the points that we look for immediately when we're looking at an application for architecture school.
Thank you. Dr. Lee, maybe I'll jump to you if you want to talk about, especially from a landscape architecture, the portfolio, I think is maybe a common element between those applications.
Yes, yes. Like Dr. Hunter mentioned, we look at so we require a portfolio, resume, statement of purpose, letters of recommendation. You know, all of the usual kind of set of materials. So I guess portfolio is really important. Sometimes we hear students who have no landscape architecture background express concern, saying, "Oh, I don't have a landscape architecture design portfolio," which is completely fine for us. We don't assume that you have a bachelor's degree in landscape architecture. So we actually have two different programs. One is a 2-year, one is a 3-year. The 2-year program is for those who already have a landscape architecture program. The 3-year is for career-changing students who come from a different discipline. So we've had computer science students, students in horticulture, a lot of different fields. So your portfolio can include something like your photography, if you did some pottery, if you just did some doodling, you know, hand sketching, or painting, you know, any creative and art related work can be included in your portfolio. As a package, we really look for passion and potential in you in pursuing a degree in landscape architecture, not so much established experience and established skills already. So we welcome people from different disciplines, and that usually our student body consists of people of different disciplines, and it's really like a mixed group.
Thank you. And then Dr. Van Zant.
Sure. So I'm going to focus primarily on the PhD in urban and regional sciences, although a lot of this still is appropriate for the master's in urban planning as well, although we look for somewhat different things. Unlike architecture and landscape architecture, in the US, urban planning is not really a design degree. We do incorporate a kind of assessments of urban design, but we're not training you to become a designer in the urban and regional science program. We're training you to become a researcher, someone who can answer questions about the built environment, how it can work better, who it serves, how policies can make it function more effectively. And so we're looking for people who are motivated to answer those questions and who have strong communication and as well as quantitative skills, although we will teach you all of the quantitative methods that you need. Although having a background in some quantitative methods is helpful, but it's not the only way to answer a research question. So the most important element of your admissions package is your personal statement, because your personal statement will tell us whether your pressing motivation or pressing question is one that you'll be able to address in our program. We want to make sure that there's a strong match in terms of fit between what your interests are and what we can offer you, because there are a lot of PhD programs around the world, and they all have a little bit of a different flavor, if you will. They all do different things well. And the most important thing when you're choosing a PhD program is to choose the one that fits you best and has people, faculty on the faculty who are studying the kinds of questions that you want to answer. Because a PhD program is much different than a master's program in the sense that, yes, you'll take some classes, but ultimately you are doing an independent research project, the dissertation. And that is, nobody's going to hold your hand and walk you through that, although you will have a mentor who works with you closely to develop your project and help you know how to execute it. But a PhD, really in almost any subject area, is about conceiving of, designing, and implementing an independent research project. And so the personal statement will tell us if the research project, the general area that you're interested in, is a good fit with us, and whether you have the passion and motivation as well as the communication skills to learn how to execute it. We don't expect you to be able to execute it right away. We will give you the tools that you need to do that. But we want to know that you're in the right place and that we can provide for you what you're looking for. And we'll talk later in the virtual workshop about how to write a strong personal statement. But that really is the most important thing. We don't require a portfolio for the PhD program because we're not really assessing your design skills. We are interested in your transcripts and in your letters of recommendation as well to help us know that you're ready for this level of graduate work. And your professors that you've had in the past are generally good, are in a position to be able to assess whether you're ready for that kind of graduate work, whether you have the independence and the maturity and the passion to do that kind of work. So we like recommendation letters. We do look at your transcripts in order to kind of understand what you're good at and maybe what you're not so good at. We don't necessarily have a requirement for the GPA, but we do look to see where your weaknesses are, and if they're in areas that are going to be particularly important for graduate study, then that probably would hurt you. But if the parts that you didn't do so well in are not relevant to the PhD degree, then they're really not going to hurt you too much. We don't require a GRE, but I will say I'm one who likes to see the GRE score, and I'll tell you how I feel about GREs. They are not a good test of whether you can be successful necessarily. Like a low score doesn't mean that you're not smart enough to do well at a PhD program. There are a lot of people who don't think the way these standardized tests ask you to think, and especially creative people. Like a lot of you probably are creative people. They may not think the way these standardized tests ask you to think. And so you may not do well. But on the other hand, I've been doing this for over 20 years now, admitting people into graduate programs. And what I've observed is that high scores usually do indicate an intelligent student, not necessarily a hardworking or motivated student, but an intelligent student. So sometimes that's helpful to know. The score that I really like on the GRE is the writing score. Because for PhDs, especially, writing is how we communicate. It's how we share knowledge out that we've been working on. And so that ability to express yourself in writing in English is particularly important. And I've observed that people who score well on the GRE writing exam are generally very effective communicators in our doctoral program. So I'll stop with that.
Thank you. And yeah, I'll just add the GRE, I think, is becoming increasingly optional for lots of programs. That's true for our programs. That's true, at least in the US, for many programs. But especially because we have a largely international audience on this meeting, I do want to share that the GRE still can be helpful for establishing English language proficiency, which is a requirement for admissions, but we also then have standards of English language proficiency for any students who want to become teaching assistants, who want to have an instructional role in the classroom. And so while it's not required by all of our programs, many students still choose to take it because it can, like Dr. Van Sant said, in some cases strengthen their application and also qualify them to have English, establish English language proficiency. So Dr. Van Sant, for the next question, because you touched on this a little bit in the statement of purpose and being a good match in terms of topic areas. Can you explain a little bit like what really advising or a chair, what that role really is and how students should um, think about that at the stage of applying, right? Of getting an application together?
Sure. So in the PhD program, I think of it as an apprentice program where you will be working alongside a faculty member, a particular faculty member, or a group of faculty, maybe from a research center, which we will talk about later. And you will likely participate in their research projects and learn how they work and how they approach a research question, how to write a research question. It's not as easy as you might think. And then how to answer it, really. And so throughout your time, you will be paired either with a mentor, like you have to have a mentor to be admitted into the PhD program. And that person will guide you in choosing your courses and help talk through with different ideas with you. That person may end up being your graduate advisor or your committee chair, because every PhD student forms a four or more person committee that includes 3 people from the department as well, or at least 2 people from the department and at least 1 person from outside the department. And the reason we do that is that we want people to have a different perspective. You know, that you may choose a faculty member from a related department like geography or natural resource management or sociology or statistics or any of a number of things. And that person will help round out the perspectives that are influencing how you answer your research question. But after your coursework, you're really responsible. And there was a question in the chat about the research project. And so after you finish 2 years of coursework, you will first take a comprehensive exam, which is both a written and oral exam to determine that you have the breadth of knowledge appropriate for your dissertation and for your area of interest. And then you will develop your own research project. And these research projects are intended to create new knowledge. So I like to emphasize that because there's a lot of misunderstanding, I think, in the US and other places about what researchers do, what research faculty do in a university. We don't just teach. Teaching is about a third, maybe 40% of what our job is. And the rest of it, there's a little bit of service, which actually is not just a little bit, but we're going to call it a little bit. But the other big part, and for a lot of us, it's takes up most of our time, is doing research, answering research questions and going into the field, collecting data or using secondary data sets to answer questions about the built environment, things that people don't already know. And the way that we figure that out is through a careful literature review to see what other people have written on the topic and also identified gaps in our knowledge. And then design questions to fill those gaps, to answer those questions. And very often the dissertation is not going to be like the final word on any subject, but it's going to make an incremental contribution to our understanding of particular issues. It might be related to disasters, which is one of my areas of interest. It might be related to health, which is Dr. Lee's area of interest. So there's a lot of different ways that the built environment affects the human experience. And we want to understand how we can improve how, excuse me, like Dr. Reed, I'm losing my voice. We want to understand how we can design and build and design policy for the built environment so that it leads to better outcomes for humanity. And so once you design your research project, we will help you implement it, answer it by collecting and analyzing data and then expressing your new knowledge in writing that can be published and shared with the world.
Thank you. And Dr. Lee, can you share a little bit about what a advisor and mentor might do, particularly maybe how it differs in a master's program versus a doctoral program?
Yes. For our MLA program, and I guess MUP program as well. As students apply, we don't necessarily match students with faculty advisor at the stage of enrollment. It would still be helpful for the students to explain what areas you are interested in when applying to a MLA or MUP program. You will be interacting with all of our faculty in the department through courses. There are sometimes independent study or research projects. Before you get into your last year of the program, that's when we will assign you, or you will find or identify a chair of your final study. That is when you begin to have a stable relationship with one faculty member who serves as your chair and a few other faculty members who serve as your committee members. So this part is slightly different than the PhD program. For the PhD program, you are assigned a mentor right away, and we would love for you to identify who this person you think is. And then for the MLA and UP programs, it's fine if you are not sure yet. And you will learn more about this field and the different subfields or specialization within that field, and then develop more relationship with faculty who, and one of them will become your chair of the final studies.
Can I add something real quick, Katie, that I should have said?
Of course, yeah.
And just to build on what Dr. Lee mentioned, for PhD students, identifying a potential mentor is critically important. So one of the things that you will want to do in your personal statement is to identify 2 or 3, at least one, but preferably 2 or 3 faculty members with whom you would be interested in working. So faculty members who are doing the kind of work on the kind of topics that you are interested in. You should name them explicitly in your personal statement, because we want to know who you think you would want to work with. But you want to hedge your bets a little bit, because if there's just one person, that person may not be accepting new students, may not have room for you. But if you name 2 or 3, then we have more options, or we feel like we have more options to place you with a mentor who can be very helpful to you.
Thank you. And then Dr. Hunter, can you share what the role of the mentor is for the Master of Architecture program in particular?
Yes, mentorship in architecture as a profession is incredibly critical. As students that come out of school, out of our program, we have a professional program, walk right into the workforce and begin practice. That is our primary goal, to prepare them to walk literally into somebody's office and start their career. And even at the professional level, having a mentor is incredibly important for the first 0 to 5 years of a young person's career. We try to expand that into the academic footprint, where a mentor specifically is influential with a master's student when they are starting their second year in our MArch program. That is the opportunity. That is a year and the opportunity that the student has the chance to design their own project, their final study project. It is at that point that they have the opportunity to create a committee with the chair and several others that serve as advisors, mentors, individuals that help guide the student through their year-long design process on their project. Ideally, a student should look for a committee member, a faculty member that has a little bit of expertise in the project that they are looking to design, research, inquire about. That doesn't always work out, but that's the ideal scenario. The student does have the opportunity to look for a committee person outside of the department. So those are very straightforward opportunities for the student to get mentorship for the design and development of their final study project. In the bigger picture, starting with career change individuals, which is a 3-year program, having a mentor for a career change person is equally as important because literally that person is coming in from a different background, a different professional or even academic experience into architecture. And in many cases, they have zero experience at all. So we try to work very closely with our career change students, get them acclimated in a very intense first year of study that they go through to help them and be with them to advise them, help answer questions for anything that they may experience that they may have looking forward towards their second and third year in the graduate program. And in the bigger picture, we are a professional program. We are looking to develop our students so that when they graduate, they are ready to start their careers in somebody's office.
Thank you. And then for the last question, right? Maybe 2 and 4 are the most important. How do I get in, and how am I going to pay for it? That's what people really want to know. So I want to, before I really pose the question to all of you about the specifics of funding within your programs, I want to give just really briefly a little bit of an overview of funding sort of options that the university and our college offer. So generally, funding graduate students can fall in 2 buckets, one that we call assistantships and one that is scholarships. And assistantships are what some of you, I can tell from the chat, are already familiar with. So research assistantship is one of the common ones. We sometimes call them GARs here at Texas A&M, graduate assistant assigned to research, GAR. And then GATs, which are teaching assistants, where you're supporting an instructor in a faculty member in some of that instructional work. And assistantships generally come with a financial package, right? So maybe they're helping support some of your tuition and fee expenses. And then there's a stipend associated with that work that you're doing, either supporting research or supporting teaching, generally speaking. Scholarships are the other kind of big bucket of funding that is available for students. And scholarships are not necessarily tied to a certain type of work, right? So scholarships may be for people from different, we have someone who's really interested in supporting students who want to work in the health area. So there's a scholarship for students who are in this area. And those are not tied then to any kind of additional work from students. A scholarship just goes to reduce your bill, basically, right? Your tuition and fees. And so the most general statement I'll say is that in all of our programs, both assistantships and scholarships are available for students. But all of our programs have particular rules and processes for how they determine who will receive those assistantships and scholarships based on the number of students, right? The amount of funding available, what needs they have. Of course, for teaching assistantships, it may depend on what courses are being taught that semester that they need support with. And so we'll get into it a little bit right now, but later in program breakouts as well. Each program has their own methodology for funding students. And some of our programs are fund different percentages of their programs, right? So generally speaking, I would say it is less common for master's students to get an assistantship It's more common for doctoral students to get assistantships, but some master students do have assistantships, and scholarships are available, I would say, not equally, but all students are eligible for scholarships, right? As far as what's offered in each program. So I'll let maybe Shannon, Dr. Van Zant, do you want to talk about funding from a doctoral student perspective or doctoral program perspective?
Sure. Yes, I'm trying to answer questions in the chat too. So
oh, sorry.
My mind doesn't always function well doing both things, but yes. So the PhD program, we make every effort to fund all of the students that we admit. We typically admit somewhere between 6 and 8 students each fall, and we only admit students in the fall. This year, we admitted 8, 6 are coming. We will be able to fund all of them for a minimum of 3 years. And there's a couple of different ways, like Dr. Reed mentioned the departmental assistantships, and those are funded with money that comes into the college and then into the department. And we feel confident that we have that money. Another way that we have been able to fund PhD students in the past is with external research grants that individual faculty have. So for example, I have, let's see, 2 or 3 PhD students funded on one of my grants right now. But that grant ends in a year. And as you all may know, the funding landscape in the United States is somewhat uncertain right now, given the changes in the federal government and to a lot of the funding agencies that we have traditionally depended on, like the National Science Foundation is the main one, but also agencies like in the Environmental Protection Agency or the Department of Transportation or the Department of Justice. Different programs have funded our research traditionally, and a lot of that funding is no longer available, or it is being redirected to other kinds of research. For example, I do a lot of research on equity, and equity is no longer a topic that our federal government wants to put money towards. And so a lot of us don't expect or are less sure of the funding that we will have in the future, which has made us more conservative in admitting students without knowing that they will have funding. Normally we can do that because we feel confident that we're going to get funding, but right now we don't necessarily feel that way. So that has made us a little more cautious in admitting students, and we only will admit students that we can fund. And we do guarantee funding for a minimum of 3 years and ideally 4 years, because 4 years is about what it should take to complete a PhD. It is possible to do it in less time, although I can only think of one student in my long history at 2 different institutions of people who can finish their degree that quickly. More often, it takes a little bit longer than 4 years, so maybe 5 years. But that 5th year is not going to be funded by the department. It may be funded on external research grants, but it's not going to be funded by the department. So that we use that to kind of encourage you to get done in 4 years because that's what we can help you pay for. And typically the assistantship will pay a stipend, some living costs. They're not a lot, but hopefully enough to allow you to live here locally. And then we also pay for 9 credits of tuition. And it's important to note that 9 credits is considered full-time by the university, but it's typically students are taking 12 credits or 12 hours each semester in order to finish in a timely manner. And so there would still be 3 credits of tuition that you would have to pay for. So I want you to understand, and I think Dr. Reed will emphasize this later as well, that it is important to be confident that you can pay for your education. it's very unlikely that we will pay for everything. There will always be additional costs related to the university, whether it's tuition or fees. You'll also be responsible for your own living expenses, although you will get a stipend depending on how you want to live and how many people you're bringing with you, and things like whether you need a car or not. It is a difficult place to live without a car, although it is possible to live without a car, just not very comfortable because things are far apart and it's not the most walkable place in the world. So keep that in mind as you're planning and you're doing your financial planning for doing a PhD or other graduate degree. The Office of Business Services on the university's website is very helpful in planning your costs, because it will tell you how much it will cost depending on the college that you're in and the program that you're in, and whether you're an international student or a domestic student. So it can help you make those calculations with greater confidence. And I highly recommend that you study it so that you feel comfortable that you know what the costs will be and where the money will come from.
Thank you. And then, Dr. Hunter, I guess I'll go with you next. Do you want to talk about funding opportunities in the Master of Architecture program?
Yes, I think you and Dr. Van Zandt covered it, I think, pretty well with regards to what is available, specifically assistantships. Our leadership team just talked about many of the things that you pointed out, Dr. Reed, with regards to needs, the needs of the students, the needs of the instructors, forthcoming classes, and what the needs in those classes are going to be with regards to students and the like. We have, I have worked, I think almost exclusively with PhD students as TAs, primarily in when I teach undergraduate studios, mainly third-year design studio. But the opportunity to teach and or be a TA does exist in the first and second years of our program. We have an enormous amount of students that come in at the first year. And so in many cases, there are opportunities for PhD students to actually be instructors at the first year level because of the enormous number of students that we have. But the funding apparatus is pretty much what you and Dr. Van Zandt said. It's and it focuses mainly on primarily what we need in the studio. Specifically in my experience, my third year studio has TAs that actually work with the students. So if the TA has a specific talent, like the understanding of Revit or the understanding of software systems that the students, in many cases, don't even know, then those TAs become, in my opinion, very critical in supplementing my effort to not only teach the students from a design standpoint, but their ability to learn things that the TA already knows. And so from a teaching perspective, it is incredibly helpful, and we do have a need. So everything in the end comes down to the sources of funding. Typically, it is an assistantship that we offer in architecture, and it provides opportunities for, like Dr. Van Zandt said, to help cover some costs here at A&M. I don't think we're in a situation where we can cover it all, but we can help cover some of it.
And I'll just add, I think that's why, as Dr. Hunter just said, some of the software in particular, make sure you include those things on your resume, because that's a signal to the program that, ooh, this student may be able to assist in a particular area, right? Often students who are finishing a master's or finishing their undergrad have the most up-to-date skill set when it comes to some of the software. So that can be really really valuable. Dr. Van Zant, I see that you wanted to. Yeah,
I think we haven't yet talked about the $1,000 scholarships.
I was about to. Yeah.
So there is another really helpful financial tool that we are very lucky to have, and that is that in the state of Texas, Texas A&M in particular, if you receive a scholarship of $1,000 or more, that qualifies you for in-state tuition. So the same tuition that as a resident of Texas would pay, which is about half the cost of what it costs for international or out-of-state students. And so that is a tremendous advantage that we have. It will, even though it's only a $1,000 scholarship, it will actually save you about $12,000 a year. I think a year, not a semester. Sometimes I get confused, even though I am currently paying for 2 students in college myself. But that is so when you get a letter, when you get your admissions letter, you may also be told that you're receiving a scholarship, and that scholarship is $1,000 or maybe it's $5,000. And so there's that actual cash, the 1,000 or 5,000 that would be put towards your student bill, but it will also qualify you to have a much, much lower tuition rate. And that is very valuable to have. And it's something that we struggle to kind of communicate in our admissions letters, because you may have one letter from a university that is much more expensive than Texas A&M, but is offering you $12,000, and then you get one from A&M that's saying, well, we're going to give you $1,000, but really those are about the same, because that $1,000 qualifies you for saving $12,000 more. I don't know, Katie, if you can explain that any more clearly than I did, but it's important to recognize that.
Yes. So I was going to share some of the links but I'm sharing my screen right now, so it'll mess things up. But I'll put them in the chat once we close out of this screen. And that the site that Dr. Van Zant just mentioned, you can actually estimate your tuition and fees for the next year on our SBS Student Business Services website, where they have a tuition calculator, and you can see, all tuition. There's a slider. So, okay, if I'm going to take 12 hours of coursework, then my tuition will be this amount, my fees will be this amount. And yes, I believe when we looked a couple weeks ago, it might be close to 14,000 for the whole year. I want to say it was 7,000 a semester. That $1,000 gets you. So basically, if you imagine, okay, as an international or out-of-state student, my bill is $14,000, let's say, and I have $1,000 scholarship, and then that $1,000 scholarship also reduces that bill by another $7,000. And so that's why, it is, as you're starting to get more information and apply and consider other programs, it's important to ask questions about what exactly is covered in terms of tuition, fees, and all of those things. And I'll share, like I said, I'll share some links so that you can get a better sense. I want to give Dr. Lee, do you have, is there anything you want to add particular about funding, or maybe especially from an international student perspective?
Yeah, I think most of the points have been covered really well. I would just add that faculty members in our college, they have very vibrant research projects, research labs. So a lot of them are always looking for skilled and dedicated students to join their research. So for example, I found a few PhD students, but I also found master students. There was a student who I hired right after new student orientation. Like at the orientation, she approached me told me about what she's interested in doing, and then I initially hired her as a hourly paid research assistant. So this is a mechanism where you get paid by how many hours that you work on the project, and then your tuition is not covered. But then after a year or so, I found that she's a really valuable asset and did really well, and I started to hire her as a fully funded research assistant, where her tuition is also covered. So yeah, if you're interested in doing research and are committed, once you come here, I would say you can be proactive in reaching out to faculty members who conduct research in areas you're interested in, and then I think there are plenty of opportunities there.
I'll just add as well, in terms of like when all of this is happening and how, do you need to apply separately for scholarships and assistantships? And initially, when you're just applying for admission to the university and to our programs, the answer is no, you don't need to have a separate application for the most part. So generally speaking, when we see your application, we're also going to consider you for scholarships and assistantships that are available. There are some scholarships that are competitive at the university level. So, larger that are graduate and professional school fund. And so that is another reason that we really encourage students to get their applications in earlier rather than later. Because those deadlines, some of those university scholarship deadlines are also early. And so if we have your application and all of the materials needed, then we can make you, put you forward for some of these university level scholarships. And so occasionally there might be some additional information that's needed, but for the most part, in the application for our admissions, we also ask the questions that are important for scholarship applications as well. And so we can get a sense of which scholarships or assistantships you might qualify for based on your application. And then later, subsequent years, excuse me, if you join our programs, and then like Dr. Lee and Dr. Hunter said, as opportunities change, right, from semester to semester, as courses are being taught, as new grants or new projects come about, then there's also application processes internally for the students who are already here. All right, I think we're at time, or we might have gone over time, so I'll stop there. I know that there will be there's always lots of questions about funding. I think the chat has there's been some questions there. And I believe, Dr. Garcia, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think later on, we're also going to have, later in the summer, we're going to have some time dedicated specifically to details about funding. Is that right?
Yeah, that is correct. And it will be like a 1 hour webinar, just like this. So there will be like a series of like 3 bi-monthly webinars. And we will also match you with a mentor so you can meet during those off times or during those like bi-monthly as well. So don't worry, we will get to answer all your questions. It's just not today. It's a lot. I know you need to absorb a lot of things. And we will certainly help you to understand all this, which is, it's kind of complicated, but we'll get there. We'll get there. So for I think that I have like we are a little bit late. So the next, it's not like really like a panel, but if like, again, last time it's like Shannon and Chris also helped me with this. But it's just like going through some of the admissions details. So I will go through some of these things, and then if some of the other faculty member kind of like want to say something, I would just kind of like stop and then allow for doing that. And then this is kind of like the rest also of the agenda here. So we'll talk about building structured graduate applications, and then we will take like a 15-minute break, and then we will have like the research centers panel, and then some program breakouts. So you can ask more of those specific questions, and more people will be joining us for those. Let me just like find the slides. I'm a little bit lost on my own computer here. Hold on. All right, I found them, but they're not in the right page. I guess I'll go to the right page. Well, very good. So we will just like talk about all of this. I know it's a lot to cover, and as I said, you try to absorb as much as possible. You will have time with us to be able to get all your questions answered. So we will talk about exams, transcripts, statement of purpose, resume, CV, portfolios, letter of recommendations, and also writing samples. Those are only applicable for the PhD students. So you already heard about the exams. And I saw there was a question about if I take the GRE, do I still have to take the TOEFL or the English proficiency exam? And the answer is like if you are in a non-English speaking country, then yes, you have to take both. But that is like we don't always like require all those things. So that's like only if you wanted to. So maybe I should be more clear on that and the question that was asked. So let me just kind of like repeat that. So for the GRE or the GMAT are like not really required, but you can take it if you want to. And for some faculty, they might look at the writing portion of the GRE. Again, they get a good sense of like how do you write. For other ones, it might be the quantitative. So it might still a good idea to do it, but we look at the application as a whole packet, right? So not because you might have like, let's say a low GRE or you just don't submit a GRE at all, then you will be like denied into the program. So again, just take it if you would like to, and then I assume that you will also apply to other programs as well, and some other programs might still require the GRE for admissions. So just take that into account for your planning. And then, as I said before, if you are it's like from particular countries, so it's like you saw I put like on the list like the chat, so there's some countries that are their primary language is English. So in that case, you could find yourself on the list and say, hey, I don't have to then do the TOEFL or the ILST. And then there's like some kind of like minimums that are in there. And I think that for those that want to be TA, they usually have also other requirements, but that is like something that is not related to admission. So basically, it's like if you do very well, maybe you qualify then to be a TA, if that makes sense. And then I think that's it here. I don't know if any other ones want to say something about it, or maybe I wasn't as clear. Maybe you can help me here with the language.
I just added in the chat the link about proof of English proficiency for international graduate students. that has some of this spelled out about those minimums as well.
Right. Excellent. So the next is like transcripts. So you should request a transcripts from every college or university that you have like attended, even if it's like a few credits that you did there. Sometimes the students like transfer from one school to another. Sometimes students go to a community college and then they just like go to another college. So it's like good to submit all of these. And there's a portal where you can like submit this electronically. It's important that you do this like early because it can take like weeks. Depending on the institution. The one thing that you should know is that for graduate programs, what like admissions panels are looking at is that you have a GPA more than a 3.0. And there's like a rule that actually like if you come to graduate school and you have below that, you cannot graduate. You have to repeat the class if that is the case. However, if in your package there's other things that are really great. I for example for the master's program, right? I say maybe it's different for the PhD, right? They really want you to have like that 3.0, perhaps. But for the master's, sometimes like students are like I don't know, a 2.80, but maybe it's like they struggle at the beginning of their classes or they transfer. Maybe of them were like doing very heavy math degree, maybe going to engineering and then they went to something else, right? So it's like those are things that you like take into account and you can always ask to the graduate college if they can waive this if we think that you will do well based on the other rest of the package. And then the international transcripts, they have like a credential evaluation. So again, it's like something that it has to be submitted with more time. And sometimes, because there's other things that we have to do. Also, like in many other countries, like you might not use a GPA that is like 3.0, but there's like calculations that you can try to see what might be similar and what is like something that you can try to compare. Is there like anything else that anyone wants to add about this, the transcripts? Okay, and I don't think that there's like questions, but let's like keep going. So now with the statement of purpose, I like have like a few things that we can highlight. First is like you can talk about the why. I think this is important. Why you want to do a PhD, for example, if that's like what you want to pursue. And it should not be like a biography about all your life and all that, but it's like how do you get to your current interests? What might be like something that drives you? Maybe it's like a problem that you're like very very interested in being part of solving, or maybe you have like a question that you want to answer, and that might relate to your personal experiences, to your professional experiences. So it's a good time to talk about that. I think that I heard that this was mentioned before, is that you have to show the names of some faculty members that can help you to pursue those goals. So most likely is someone that is like doing something similar to what you want to do. And it doesn't have to be like exactly that you're doing the exact same thing, but it's like someone who can be an advisor and a mentor to you. I think that it also helps if it's someone that their current research is something that you can support and your skills can support. So I think that because of this, you should probably like read papers of like professors trying to understand what they're doing. You can sometimes request a meeting. The good thing about what this program is that you have it's kind of like a matchmaker, and that's us. We're matchmaking you with someone that we think it'll be a good potential advisor for you. And sometimes, I'm gonna say this about the matchmaking. Sometimes, like when you write something, like it seemed like this person would be great, but then you have the conversation and that person is like, hey, I think that this other person would be great. So that's like something that you have to be open to, right? So through this process, hopefully you get like not only the name of one person that can support you, but two or three that you can also like mention. So just make sure that you have those conversations. And sometimes there's like not a good fit, and that's something that you might hear from some faculty member. It might be like, I'm not sure like who might support you, but I try to help you to find that person. So I just wanted to let you know, because again, this is like this is important. I wanted to say that what we're doing here is like helping you through your career. So whatever you get from this process is something that is going to help you no matter where you end up going. So that is to say that again, you are in this with us, and vice versa. But it might be that you don't get accepted, and it's totally fine. I always like tell the story of like, when I first applied for a PhD, I didn't get accepted, but it's about like keep going and being persistent. And I think that the fit is the one of the most, if not the most important thing, really. The other thing is that you can talk about we heard about the methodology, right? And so some of people might do more like quantitative work, other ones qualitative. I will say in the programs you have like also like people who do both things, or people that at least like understands both perspectives as well, and both research methods, even though they might not specialize on something. So just might talk about like how do you approach those like problems. So and it might be that again you maybe set up an experiment or doing something, or maybe there's something work related that it does relate about how you ended up talking to people in order to solve a problem. Maybe you do community engagement. So it's like whatever that might be, just like talk about that and the experiences that you have. Then I think that part of it is tell the story of your path, like why you are here sitting today thinking this is what I want to do. So it's like there's just try to make sense of what is like that story on paper, so we can understand you as the protagonist, right, of this story. And I know it's very challenging because it will only be like 2-3 pages most that you have to say what brought you to this moment, and what you want to do in the future with your career. And because of that, and because of like all the when people read this, they're gonna read it quickly. So you have to like revise a lot and just like make something very clear. This is why it's important to have people revise your statement of purpose. I think I have like looked at your statement, or at least like most of you, and give you some comments on that. And you will also meet with a mentor. I think it's important that you share with them. But right now, you also have mentors. You're like surrounded with people that can help you to craft a good statement of purpose. So just like this, you will have time to work on this. Anything else that we like to add about the statement of purpose? Okay. So the next thing to talk about is like the resume or the CV. And here I will say, I think that maybe this slide is a little bit biased towards like the people that are thinking about PhD, because it says like tailored to academia, right? I feel like if you're like in a master's program, you have to do less of these perhaps. But the point being is still that we are academics, right? And then we look at your academic experiences. So anything that emphasizes research, publications, awards, any relevant coursework, and then job history is something that is great. So I think in a way, like even if you're a master's, if you tell us about your research experience, then that might help us to see, hey, this person can really be a research assistant on a project that I have, or maybe somebody else has. The same thing, like if you might have teaching experience, that might be very desirable in some of the different programs that we have here. So in a way, it's still like tailoring to academia is a good idea. And then just like quantify your impact. So just think about numbers, right? Like if you participated in a survey, survey collection data, you could say, like, I participated in a study that it was like this many surveys. And I think that just in general, if you can also say what is your contribution to something, that's like even better as well, right? Because sometimes you might be part of like a large team, but maybe you did something in particular that helped that team to move forward. And I think that that's like something that you can show in the resume or the CV. And then you can highlight your skills. That might be some of you might know geography information systems or GIS. You might know statistical software, or you might again be very good with statistics and design tools. Maybe you have conducted field work before, and maybe observations. So anything that you think that it might be helpful for, you're gonna hear in a little bit, research centers, right? So it's like, take a look at the research centers and see what are the kinds of analysis that they do, because that's something that, again, it can also help us to think, okay, this person knows this, knows that. It will fit very well in like a project that we're doing or a research center. So again, any of that would be like really helpful, especially if you are trying to distinguish yourself to get the funding, right? And as I said, well, I have heard before, like not everybody gets funding, especially for the masters. For the PhD, it might be like a different story, right? But I think that all these kinds of things helps you to be seen as more competitive, and then be nominated for scholarships or fellowships, and then also find those jobs with faculty members or at the different research centers. And then, of course, it's just like keep some formatting clean. So just like have the headers being very clear, use like, well, the white space, just consistent fonts. It's just like about thinking about detail, right? Because like a lot of, the work that we have to produce later on for the different research centers, it may be like a white paper, or many times in our classes, especially for the master's programs, we work with community partners and we deliver products to them that they might use for their comprehensive plans. So it's like being professional is very important, and just paying attention to detail and demonstrating that. And of course, you can only achieve that if you like proofread, and proofread. And then I think that that's it for resume and CV. The only one thing I might say is that For the master's programs, you might be asked to do the resume. Resume is like 2 pages of your experiences, right? And then it doesn't have details of absolutely everything. Your curriculum vitae, it might have all information of things that you have done in detail. So let's say that you help up someone to organize a conference, or you yourself has presented posters, or you have written something, even if it was like for like, let's say, a professional blog, or maybe you might have published with a faculty member. So those are some of the details that you will add, and that's like the CV is usually something that you will do if you're pursuing a PhD. But again, I will say in terms of length, like the first CV that I had to apply for a PhD program was like probably the same length as the resume. But there's not like a particular length being expected, really. Oh, I want to see if people wanted to add anything else.
There's just a question in the chat about how many pages are standard, or are you looking for?
Yeah, and then that's kind of like what I said. I would say it's like about 2 pages. So the CV doesn't have a limit. It could be 30 pages, but as I said, my first CV was like maybe the same, 2 or 3 pages. It was short. It's just kind of like I have the details of your presentations or anything like that. Yes.
I was just going to add, probably will also depend on if you have a master's degree already, in which case you might also have publications or additional professional experience and that kind of thing. So that would make it longer.
Right. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you for the question. All right. So for portfolios, I was wanted to see if like Chris or the link were here still, but I will just like I don't, as a master's program coordinator, I don't look a lot into the portfolios. A lot of the students, especially if they have like an architecture background, they want to send portfolios in our application. There's not like a space where you can do that, but people usually will send me the portfolios. But in some programs in the application process, like architecture or in landscape architecture, they will definitely have a space to put the portfolio. But I think that Dr. Shannon Van Sant in person, she mentioned that a lot of people in the PhD program, they were also trying to submit portfolios. I remember she said that she saw that as like, maybe you didn't understand as well what our program does, because it's not about design. We're here to do like research. And so the same thing with the masters in urban planning. So if you do not see a space to where to submit your portfolio, again, you can submit it for us, but I think that might still kind of like, I might ask you, right, like kind of honest conversation with you also, what are your goals and what you're trying to achieve. Because if I have a lot of students that are more interested in design, I might suggest the Masters of Landscape Architecture. Because again, we don't want, sometimes students come here and they thought, oh, I wanted to do design, and we cannot offer that. It's better just to have that conversation early on, so they're not unhappy, right? I think that's our goal is like for you to choose the right program for you and to support you in the goals that you have. But if you're choosing one of those like design fields, then I think it's important that you don't absolutely include everything. You include like what is like the best work. So try to curate what is your strongest projects. And this is true of like anything. It's like quality beats quantity of things, right? So just have that in mind. Then you can tell the story of like each project. So it's like, what was the problem, what's the process, and the outcome. But I have seen this also in some portfolios that they have like too much text. And I would say, like, for example, for my urban planning students, I ask them to do a portfolio at the undergrad level, and they have like too much text. It's like, that's not, it's like, it's better just to do something very succinct, because part of the portfolio is to show that, like, the visualization, and a lot of people are going to spend more time doing that than reading, right? And then you have to show range. So, like, do not rely on like only one project that you did. And so try to have like site plans or renderings, 3D models, maybe pictures of diagrams of like models themselves that you have built. If you did some community engagement in order to come up with that design, you can show even photographs of you doing that. But the idea is that here you try to show different things that you have done. And obviously the design of the portfolio itself needs to be very nice, like consistent layout and readable fonts. It has a logical flow. Sometimes I get portfolios that are like way too big. They cannot even be uploaded. It's like, that's not a good thing, right? So just make sure that they can be uploaded, or sometimes the links are broken. So it's like, just make sure that you like package it for us to be able to see it and for able to access it, because again, that's a sign of like professionalism. So that's something that I spend a lot of time with my students talking about, because they never have delivered a portfolio. And you need to be able to do that effectively. And then make it easy to access. So it's like the hierarchy of it has to make sense. Sometimes you get these portfolios that you don't even know where to start to pay attention. So again, just like spend time doing that, thinking about that. And then, as I said, in terms of accessibility, just like single PDF. Sometimes I get a lot of JPEGs or things like that, or again, as I said, very large. So keep it at 20 megabytes. In the application, you will see like how much you're allowed to upload. And then we have, I don't know if anybody else wants to add anything about portfolios.
I added some of the information.
Yeah.
I just put it in the chat. I added some information that has like the specifications for the Master of Architecture and Landscape Architecture programs. So nothing to add, just pointing out that it's over there if people want to look specifically at that.
Yeah, thank you. And the other thing is, like, for the program of landscape architecture, I didn't see anyone was like interested in that program in particular, but you might be, because sometimes you rule out yourself saying like, oh, I cannot be in that program because I'm not like a design person. But the good thing about that program is that it might be longer, so it takes you like 3 years to do instead of 2 if you don't have like a design background. But there's also a link on their website, and you can like download. It's like a PowerPoint in where you just put some work that you have done. That could be like drawings or photographs. If you do not know 3D modeling or anything like that, the renderings is perfectly okay. So again, you will learn more about our programs and which one is like right for you. But some of you might be very passionate about design, but you still don't have the skills right now. But that's the point, that you want to get the skills. Then the letters of recommendation. So I think that for the PhD, it's very important that you include perhaps more faculty members or people that you have done research with. Sometimes you can have done that with like a community group, or maybe you volunteer with a group. I do a lot of community engagement. I certainly have like community partners writing like letters. for me about some research that I did or how I engage with them. So, but I would say for the masters, it kind of like maybe also like it might depend, but it's still very good to have academics or professors, even again, I maybe like two and then maybe one employer or something like that. You can think about the balance yourself on that, but I think that how well you did in classes, it is very important, as well as like, communicate your professionalism. So think about your letters as like as a whole. Like if I ask three people for my letters, what can they say about me that would paint a complete picture of like what I have done and what has been like part of my contributions. But I will see it's like a red flag if you don't include any of your faculty. Because again, you're still going to be to the academic world, and then I will not, I think, accept a student that is like maybe have all their colleagues or people at work submitting something. So again, it's very important that you have letters of recommendation from faculty. Sometimes some people might be out of school for a while. You can still try to reconnect, and this is why it's a good idea to always, keep in touch. But then you have to remember the faculty member, if it has been like a few years of like the class that you took or what you did in that class. It's important that regardless like of how much time you do talk to faculty and give them as many details as possible. Like I'm going to apply to Texas A&M. This is like the statement of purpose that I submitted to them. Here's my CV and my resume. Here's some bullet points, not like that you write the letter, right? They will write the letter, but you give them some bullet points or like things that again might be helpful to them, and then provide some context. And then just like I think I already talked about diversifying recommenders. You need to ask early. So in the system, your application will not be complete until you have your recommenders. So if we don't see that, your application might be not, even though everything else is done, we would not be able to accept you or deny you if you don't have like the letters. So you need to ask in advance. When you enter the system, you can also remind people of this. But because of this, you need to do it way in advance. And don't worry, because we will actually have a talk in where we will go through the system together and then just like show you all of those things, and we will do it early and enough. And then, of course, you can always follow up and say thank you. And again, I assume that you will apply to several programs, and just plan in advance. If you're going to apply to 6 programs for your PhD, just tell the faculty, like, I will apply into these schools. These are like the deadlines. Send them reminders and always thank you after you see it, like in the website usually, or in the system. Usually we'll get like a system reminder saying, this person has submitted, or you can log in and see if they have submitted or not. But just kind of be polite, right? In terms of like timing and having them with all the information that they need in advance, including your plans to apply for other programs. I don't know if there's anything else that we'd like to add.
There was a question in the chat about could collaborators, project collaborators or research collaborators be a good recommender? And I said, yes, typically most recommendations will start with that person explaining how they know you. So a recommender who's a collaborator might say, we've worked together over the last 2 years on, ABC research project, and then can be able to share. And an instructor might say, I had this student in my class and they, And that's helpful so that the person reading, right, the admissions panel then knows,
Yeah.
okay, this is why this person is qualified to speak about your skill set, your experience, whatever, so that we have an understanding of how well they really know you and how closely they've worked with you.
Yeah. And in most systems, there's also like a question about what's the relationship that this person has to you. But again, like in the letter, it's important to have that clear. And then usually it will say, how many years do you have known this person and the context. So yes, all those things that usually there's like, you fill out like a form. The recommender fills out a form, answers some questions, and then also submits the letter itself. But yeah, those are some of the questions there. So thank you so much. All right, so writing samples, these are only important for the PhD programs. So then I think that if you have done like a thesis or a professional paper, or maybe you did a paper that you wrote for class, that it was maybe it was like ideally it would be like original research, right? So it's like you collected some data, analyzed that data. That's what original research would be, instead of like it might be like, I guess sometimes it could be like a literature review that you did. I think that, for example, if you do a literature review, it's still like you need to talk about like the context of an argument that you're like trying to make as well. I think at least like personally, and maybe others disagree, but just a literature review without this is what people said, that's not something that it might show us again where are you trying to do or accomplish, or why you're doing this literature review. So it's always a good idea to share with others while you're planning to submit, especially if you did like a master's thesis. Just again, you can talk to your advisor if there's like anything like it's a paper that you might want to submit. Just kind of show it to someone, and that's something that you can also discuss with the mentor, just to try to choose what will be good things. Obviously, there's things that you could submit at the undergrad level, but I mean for your PhD, but most likely it's like you choose to meet things that are more recent. So as I said, like if you for the PhD, if you need like the master's, you should submit something from your master's, something that is like relatively more newer, right? I know that some of you might do like undergraduate research, but that might be something that you might add in the resume. But again, there's not like a right or wrong answer here. So it's like these are just like some recommendations, and people might feel different about the things that I'm saying. But the important thing is that the writing samples, if it's for a PhD program, you are demonstrating that you can do original research, that is not just descriptive, that you can actually offer an argument. And then if you are already working, you could try to submit like a technical report or a white paper or a policy brief. But I would say, like, for instance, if it's a plan, that might not be that helpful. You might still want to just explore something on your own and then write a white paper about a topic that you do research, even if it's something that you did on your own, and you might still be doing professional practice right now. But that's kind of like the key, that we're looking for more of the academic research, not necessarily like a blog post or like op-eds or any other types of writing. And I think that's all I have to say. I don't know if anyone else wants to add anything about the writing sample. Of course, like if you have published already with like faculty, you can submit that publication, and you should still say what you did in that particular project. Some students, but that's not a lot of students, they might submit a publication that they did on their own, and that's good. If you do something that is like with somebody else, I think that again, saying what you did is very important. But then don't submit two things that are like that, because we still want to see your own writing. So I will be like strategic about, okay, I submit this writing sample I did as a part of the project, and this is what I did, but then this is my own writing sample. Even if it's something that is not published, it might be it's more valuable to us than having two things that are published, but it's with like other people. So it should be your writing sample. Any comments or thoughts on this? Okay, so I just wanted to also remind you of the application deadlines. So these are like for our master's programs. As you could see, they're like all this between December 1st and January 15th. So this is why you're getting ready now, because you have to put all these materials together. And just again, the deadline is deadlines like if you're automatically considered for some kind of funding or scholarship if you apply by these states. So this is why it's very important to submit by these states. As I said, all those are in a competitive basis, right? So we cannot offer assistantships for everyone. Those are limited. So basically there will be a lot of applicants and you compete with them, but we consider every single person that is submitted on these days. Sometimes I have students that submit way early, and it's possible that in some programs, especially for the masters, we accept you before this, but we will not have any funding decisions until later, because we have to consider every single person the same that submitted at this time. So I think that that's like important as well. We have like bi-monthly webinar series. They're gonna be at 9 a.m. CST. And these are the topics that we're going to be discussing. So on June 5th, it's going to be about approaching professions and building your advisory team for graduate school. Then on August 28th, it's going to be about funding your graduate education, a deep dive. So some of the things that we have talked today, but obviously a lot more details on this. Seems like that would be a popular one. And then on October 23rd, we have like navigating the application platform and also meeting your grad advisor, because their grad advisors, they're like the key person to know. They're the ones that are going to, if you have any questions about the application platform or the transcripts, did your GRE get here and all that. So it's very important that you also like meet them and work with them, ask questions. And then I have there like the different time zones for those. The other thing is that I haven't done this in where I will match you with a mentor, but I will do this like next week. And then you will receive an email from me saying like, so-and-so is your mentor. Please figure out a time to meet. It will be like 30 minutes. And then I have some guidelines of like what I would like you to talk about, but of course you might have like other questions. So basically it's just like you and the advisor need to find a time that works for both of you. And then the May, June, it will be like getting to know each other, introductions, share your interests and goals, learn about the mentors projects. Again, this is someone that we identified that it might be a potential advisor. Many times they might not have current in the website what they're currently working on, but you can ask them about this. And then July, August is more like the applications materials, deep dive. So you will revise your statement of purpose, your CV, show them, okay, these are my writing samples that I'm planning to submit, or portfolio, whatever that might be. These are the people that I'm trying to ask for letters of recommendation, how I should approach this. So that's for those months. And then September, October, we just have it like kind of like final review and last question. So this one is a little bit more loose, but if there's like anything that you need help with, this is a space for you to do that. So I think that that's it for this session. But before we end, I'd like to see if there was like any questions or thoughts about any of those topics. Okay, so I took a little bit more. Abdul has a question. Go ahead.
Abdul, you can either unmute yourself or you can put your question in the chat if you.
Yeah, and I think that maybe I think that there was a question already answered from Abdul.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe it was already answered. Okay, well, the next panel is going to be just in 8 minutes. So you can have the time to put your questions here on the chat, but for the benefit of everyone, I'm just gonna give you those 8 minutes to go to the restroom, have some water, and we'll be back in just 8 minutes, okay?
Thank you.
Sorry for interrupting. Is anyone there? Actually, chat room is not working for me.
All right, so I hope people had a nice break. So our next talk is going to be about the research centers. And then yeah, I think Dr. Wei, I didn't change the slides from last time. So, but like, let's just like, we will go like through each research center. And then, so we have like some representatives here, but I will let them introduce themselves when they are going to be talking about the research center itself. So I think that the important thing about the research centers is you want to explore again which one is like best for you to be affiliated with, and then the idea here is that you will be with like-minded people, and some of these might be housed in architecture, some of them are really like very interdisciplinary, so you can be part of them from any discipline, right? And then I and or they have like different kinds of like concentrations and interests. Many of them might be ways of getting engaged, even though you don't work there. So it might be like brown bags or like things that are happening where that brings people together, conferences, or people might even go to conferences together. And some of them might have like student groups and associations that are exploring that topic. And some of you might end up working at one of these research centers. Some of them are virtual and have no space, but other ones you might get an office there if you like end up like working there. And again, they're like different, so you learn more about them to see, okay, I think that I could be associated with this, or I maybe like to work with this organization if there was like the opportunity, and you put that in your statements, because that will help us. Okay, they're interested in this research center and what they're doing, right? The other thing I will, while you're like doing, each person goes through the presentation, you can, go to social media and see if you can connect with them. And that way you can be like, oh, they did this cool thing, or this faculty member did this other thing. And then ask questions about that and learn more about which one you like to be affiliated with. So let's start with Tasneem and the HRRC center.
All right. Can you hear me, Ivase?
Yes.
Okay, good, perfect. Thank you so much. So I am Tasneem. I'm working as a postdoc at Hazard Reduction and Recovery Center, and I'm here to talk about it briefly, kind of introducing what our mission is and what are the activities that we do, what kind of research we do, and how we can like get associated with our center. So regarding Hazard Reduction Recovery Center, founded in 1988. This is the first kind of first research center of its kind in the whole nation in terms of our mission. HRC wants to advance knowledge on hazard and to build like a more stronger hazard community, as well as we focus on how can we deliver or disseminate the findings into actionable guidelines for agencies and practitioners who are also working on the field. And in terms of what HRC does, we study all kinds of hazards like wildfires, hurricanes, tornadoes, as well as technological hazards, and we cover the full spectrum of it, like mitigation, recovery, preparedness, response. And the biggest strength of HRC is that of its like interdisciplinary nature, because we have a very multidisciplinary team comprising of architects, planners, sociologists, geographer, engineers. So no matter what your discipline is, if you're interested in working in the hazard spectrum, you will find your place here. Going to the next slide, here are some like it shows some statistics about the real world impact of HRC. I'm not gonna get through every single number mentioned here, but it shows the network or the extent of the network HRC has, the funding that HRC has brought during those years. We do collaboration with external institutions like federal social and state and local agencies as well. We publish a lot of publications in collaboration with faculties, researchers, postdocs, and students, as well as we bring indirect funding to the university through those activities. So it shows the real world impact in combination with the scholarship that HRC has. Going to the next slide, the last one, it shows like the division of research areas for HRC. We do research on social vulnerability as well as recovery, mitigation, response. But the biggest strength I would say is community engaged research, where HRS is kind of leading the nation in terms of its community engaged research. How can we involve the community members into hazard focused work? Yeah, I think that's all. If you're interested into learning more, please visit our website. It has a list of our ongoing projects. We do collaboration with other centers as well, like Center of Housing and Urban Development, Center of Historic Preservation, Texas Turgid Communities, and feel free to ask any questions if you have. Yeah, thank you.
Right. Thank you, Tasnim. So we will leave the questions for the end. I'll go first with the slides. Yeah, and then like.
Yes. So this is
Great.
Yan. Actually, I have my slides. I haven't seen this set of slides, but I have my slide. Can I share my slides?
Yes.
Okay, let me try that.
Yeah, we can see them.
You can see it?
Excellent.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
So on behalf of the Department of Architecture, I will present our centers and the areas of research. But I know Dr. Aima is here, so he will present the Center for Heritage Conservation in more detail. I will give some overview of the centers and areas, and with a focus on the CRA Center research activities. So in the Department of Architecture, we have 5 major PhD and Master of Science in Architecture programs. They are design computation, design methods, energy efficiency, design for health, and heritage, conservation, and preservation. In each of these areas, there are sub-areas. For example, in design computation, there are building information modeling, design computation methods, technologies, digital fabrication, robotics, AI, computer human interaction, and other areas. They all have their sub areas with faculty expertise in each of the areas. And directly under the department, we have Center for Health Systems and Design. The director is Dr. Ray Pentecost. Center for Heritage Conservation director is Dr. Fabrizio Aima, who will provide the details. The Center for Leadership and Management in the Design and Construction Industry, we call it a CRS Center. The director is Dr. Greg Luhan, who is having travel today, so he cannot be here. Under the College of Architecture, but led by our architecture faculty, Dr. Jorge Vanegas, we have the Institute for Sustainable Communities. And our architecture faculty members are also leading or co-leading 2 labs or center enter the Texas A&M Engineering Experiment Station, the TEAS. A major one is the Energy Systems Lab, where our multiple faculty members, Dr. Jeff Habro, Dr. Charlie Kalb, Dr. Juan Carlos Baltazar are associate directors of the lab, and they advise PhD students from architecture as well as mechanical engineering or other departments in the lab. And led by Dr. Juan Carlos Baltazar, the Building Performance Assessment Center is relatively new. It's not shown in many books yet, but this is a center that Dr. Baltazar advises many PhD students from architecture. And at this time, I just want to show some examples of students' research outcomes, in this case, publications, as well as recognitions from the CRA Center. For example, PhD student Mohammad Asel, with his colleagues, published in the top journal Energy and Buildings, which has, as of yesterday, the citation number 344, which is a measure of impact. Other researchers, including PhD students and faculty researchers, have cited these papers, ideas, or methods in their own research, and this shows the significant impact of the research. Another example is the former PhD student John Baum-Kin and colleagues published in Automation Construction, and the paper has been cited more than 300 times. Our former master's student, Sida Tusun Kanadink, received the A&M Student Research Week Award, and later she became our PhD student, and she led the National Science Foundation Innovation Core program, which funded her research, and her research led to inventions that are currently patent pending. And our PhD student Fanas Nazari received the Best in Show first place in our college research symposium. In recent years, the symposium became the College of Architecture Showcase. Our research students present actively in the showcase. And PhD student Zahari received the Best Paper Award in International Conference on Learning and Collaboration Technologies. So this is beyond the award for PhD students. This is in a competition with all the researchers, including other PhD students and faculty or researchers from both universities and high-tech companies. And Zahari also received recognition from A&M Foundation Journal. So there is a featured article about her research. Just last year, in the area of artificial intelligence, our PhD student Utamasha Manjari received Best Paper Award in IEEE conference on artificial intelligence for the research of AI's spatial intelligence. And this shows a PhD dissertation cover page of Ziad Ashra, who investigated the technology of augmented reality and applied the augmented reality into building information modeling and the construction of buildings to visualize the buildings in terms of using visualization technology, building information modeling, and augmented reality. And our students graduated and becomes researchers, educators, and designers in many different fields centered around architecture. Thank you all so much. If you have questions, let me know.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Yan. We'll again save the questions for the end. All right.
Good morning,
Yeah, I know
everyone.
that. Hi.
Yes, Susan. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. Thank you, Dr. Wayan, for also introducing the Center for Heritage Conservation in your previous slides. Thank you, IBIS, for this opportunity to discuss with every one of you. Today, I'm glad to present briefly the Center for Heritage Conservation. The center was created in 2005 in order to understand better our built heritage and the way that the built heritage can impact our lives in everyday operations. Built heritage is an important component of our cities, our urban fabric, and it spans from like multiple, I would say, scales. They consider like historic neighborhoods or historic buildings, or even a smaller scale to potential furniture or anything that is related to the built environment. So, in this way, that the center was established in 2005 by Professor Emeritus David Woodcock, that is currently also the emeritus director of the center. It works on the research of and also planned built environment, specifically as we mentioned on built heritage and in relation to historic preservation, but not only historic preservation. So we are looking in potential way to approach heritage, also using the lenses of resilience into that, in order to better understand how we can make sure that built heritage might be used also in the future and can be endowed to the new generation. So in this relation, we work also through rehabilitation, adaptive reuse of historic buildings, also in also trying to incorporate this discussion over the studio time with the students, but also providing, first of all, the understanding of the building. So this is why we have documentation of the buildings, and through those activities we can expand the knowledge of the building itself, understanding potential elements and materials that are composing the building, in order to interpret that for potential next stages or phases for is conservation in the future. So our project spans Texas, the US, but also international sites, and we also able to engage with students through also research project, founded studios, internship, and also a great opportunity that we have every year is the Historic Preservation Symposium. We recently had the 27th event of the Historic Preservation Symposium. The topic was artificial intelligence and preservation. So how artificial intelligence can help to better understand the heritage itself, the built heritage, to make more conscious decision for conserving it. We had experts from Texas, the US, and also from Europe. We had the chance to have from Italy the responsible for innovation for the ecological park of Pompeii coming to the symposium. It was a great moment, I would say a great time for reflections to understand better how artificial intelligence can help, but also how this process can be steered by professionals and to make sure that the process is accurate, and we always steer the process towards I would say a more balanced way to approach heritage, in a way that is accurate, in a way that is retaining the historical values that are needed to be retained. I'm glad to potentially respond to questions you might have at the end, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Aymar. Right, Cedric.
Howdy, guys. My name is Cedric Chai, and I'm a program coordinator for Texas Target Communities. And it's a program embedded in the School of Architecture. And we're specifically in the landscape architecture and urban planning. And just a little bit about our program. First, our mission. So TTC, we work with mainly rural, small towns, small communities around Texas. And our mission is to facilitate the transportation of these communities that have high risk, and not a lot of opportunity to maybe make change from disasters or things like that. They typically have smaller government structures, and we like to partner up those kind of communities with university resources, with university like researchers and students and professors, to be able to make some change, to be able to partner with them to do, whether it's planning, whether it's design. So how we do that, we typically do it in multiple ways. One way is through classes. So there's something called engaged learning within classes, and basically we take the classroom into the real world by partnering up with these communities that apply to our program. We also equip faculty with tools for community engagement, and we equip them with just a network of communities that we've built over time. We've been a program for over 30 years, so there's lots of small towns that we've worked with, lots of comprehensive plans and master plans and research that we've done across Texas. And this quote from our director, I think it sums it up pretty well. It says, "TTC embodies teaching, research, and service. We dedicate our service to Texans by listening, learning, validating, documenting, organizing, motivating, and propelling. That is our charge, to cultivate tomorrow's leaders beyond the classroom, to uncover new stories that necessitate research, and to serve Texans with our presence." Yeah, and so lastly, what we do is we assist communities. We deliver them quality products. A lot of the plans and the master plans that we deliver communities end up going on to win awards through Texas ASLA. And we also partner up with a lot of research grants through the DOE, through the NSF, through other programs across Texas and across the country. You can go to the next slide. So thinking about student involvement, the students that we closely work with are MUP students, Masters in Urban Planning students. So if you get your master's in urban planning at A&M, you are kind of guaranteed to work with the rural community and building a comprehensive plan, work with the rural community and learning how to facilitate community engagement. And that's kind of the special thing you get as a master's in urban planning. And then also for like PhD students, like I said, we assist a lot of the engaged research that goes on in the College of Architecture. And then we also have internships for students that begins in the summer. At the beginning of the year, we're selecting new communities. So when the summer hits, we are both starting a new community by getting a state of the community report ready, and we're also ending an old community by finishing up a comprehensive plan or any other things we have. So there's a lot of work to be done at TTC, and a lot of ways to partner with rural communities around Texas. Thanks, guys.
No, excellent. So we have well, this is a time for questions. So first I'm going to pause and see if there's any questions. And if there's no questions, we have backup questions here. But let's take a minute to see if people have questions. Yeah, I don't see any hands. Maybe one of the first questions is here is how do graduate students typically get involved with your center?
I can take a shot at that.
Yeah.
And we kind of skipped over Chud, my center, which is okay.
Oh, all right. I don't know. Oh, yeah, I think that sorry. I was like,
yeah, no, that's fine.
Let's talk about chat. Let me just
you want to go back to that slide for me? Yeah,
kind of a little distracted, Shannon.
I know.
I think I heard Shannon go.
Which is unusual because usually I'm talking a lot.
Yeah, and I'm kind of having a little trouble here if I'm showing anything or not. No.
You're not showing, but if you could go back to that
Yes.
slide, that would help me.
Okay.
Although I can talk without
Hold
slides.
on. I don't know why it keeps going here. Hold on. All right, we're back to the slides. Okay.
There we go. There we go.
All right. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
So good to see you guys again. Hasn't been that long, but I'm Shannon Van Zandt. I'm currently the director of the Center for Housing and Urban Development, which we also call CHUD. And we have kind of a sub-program within CHUD called the Center for Hispanic Housing Studies. And Dr. Garcia is one of the co-directors of that. I'm the principal investigator on the grant. We have been doing work over the past 3 years looking at particularly the state of housing for our Hispanic residents. As you may or may not know, Texas is what we call a majority minority state, which means that we have more non-white residents than we do non-Hispanic white residents. And we have about 42% of the state's residents are Hispanic. Most are from Mexico, but we also have a lot of residents from other Latin American countries, as well as other Spanish-speaking countries. So we have been, for the past 3 years, doing a number of different studies to understand better how Hispanics experience housing in Texas, particularly as it relates to housing quality, health outcomes, and disaster-related outcomes. We are doing both quantitative and qualitative research, partnering with researchers from around the university, including public health and finance, as well as a number from landscape architecture and urban planning, and also some from our business or our public policy school and geography and some other places. So we are focused on understanding the distribution of Hispanics across the state, as well as differences in how they experience housing and how they fund housing. A lot of our quantitative work is looking at a very strong data set that's privately provided. We were able to purchase it with our grant funds that allows us to look very carefully at property values, mortgage funding levels, different assessed values and how the assessed values of housing has changed over time, and model it with different impacts to understand better whether Hispanics have the same access to housing that non-Hispanics do, as well as whether Hispanics are more exposed to things like flooding or wildfire versus other races and ethnicities. Dr. Garcia has been leading some of our qualitative data collection, which has involved interviewing key informants in different metropolitan areas and as in the state of Texas, including the Dallas-Fort Worth area, the Houston area, the Austin and San Antonio area, as well as what we call the Lower Rio Grande Valley, which is one of the poorest parts of not just the state of Texas, but the nation as a whole, along the Texas-Mexico border, where a lot of people live outside of city limits and with substandard infrastructure like streets and lighting and water treatment, as well as stormwater management. So she's been leading interviews with people who live there and people who understand some of the issues, and we're hopefully getting ready to deploy a major statewide survey to find out if the experiences in those areas are generalizable to the larger population, and if the experience of Hispanics is different than that of non-Hispanic Texans. So that's just one of our specialty areas or focus areas. We also have a few other focus areas that are really dictated by the faculty that work with our center. So one of those areas is vacant and abandoned properties and understanding how cities can better use properties within their jurisdictions that are underutilized or not utilized. We also have a smart cities program that looks at how communities are using technology to run more efficiently or to reach audiences and constituents that they haven't been able to reach in the past, using some of the new technologies that are available to us, like AI, like augmented reality, like automated vehicles, that sort of thing. And then we have a fair and affordable housing area that really looks at equity issues related to housing and understanding how people are excluded or included in different programs to provide housing and whether outcomes are similar regardless of income or race, ethnicity. So those are kind of our specialty areas. We do employ a variety of doctoral students, especially. We also employ a couple of master's students on our Hispanic Housing Center. And the student you see here in the picture is Gaia Gonzalez, who is actually a public health doctoral student, but is working with us and has been doing a lot of our interviewing. It's helpful to have faculty and students who are Spanish speakers, since we are working with a population, some of whom speak primarily Spanish, although most people speak at least some English, who live in the United States, but very often they're more able to answer questions in their native languages. So Gaia is one of those, Dr. Garcia is one of those. We also have another master's student, Juan Pina, who is a Spanish speaker. But we also employ international students. I was talking to one of you on a direct message, who is the junior student from Bangladesh, the junior of one of my current students, master students who graduates tomorrow from Bangladesh, and he's been working on this one of these projects as well. So we do fund a number of students both at the master's level and the PhD level on our funded projects in particular. And just to kind of make the segue back to some of the questions that Dr. Garcia was posing, that is probably the main way that students interact with each other at our center. We are co-located in a building with the Hazard Center and also with the Center for Heritage Conservation and the Center for Health Systems and Design, where we have a common area where students who are working on funded projects can get cubicles, or even in some cases when they're more senior, some small offices. So we do try to bring our students together, not just in the field. I think Dr. Garcia is actually probably going into the field this weekend to do interviews on people who have had their housing rebuilt after Hurricane Harvey in Houston. So we take students into the field. We also give students opportunities to sit together, and they're located near our offices. So a lot of my PhD students have desks outside of my office, and so they can come drop in pretty much anytime. Although during the summer, I'm not there as much because I prefer working at home sometimes. But I'm also available on Zoom, and I think like we see today, we can make ourselves accessible throughout the year to students no matter where they are. Like I have Chinese students and students who are returning to China this summer, but that will continue to meet weekly to make progress on our project over Zoom. But then they'll be back in the fall and have desks outside of my office. So most of the ways that our students interact with each other is through research projects, but they also are in a position to support each other on their work. I like to meet with my students as a group so that they can all hear about what the other students are working on, even if they're not working on it. And that way they can help, and they can also learn about how other students approach similar kinds of research questions and how we can learn from all of the different pieces at once. So I'll give it back to you, Evis, and we can go back to some of those questions.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Shannon. So I'm going to stop the sharing to see if there's any other questions that have emerged before we go to the questions that we had. You can raise your hand or you can use the chat to ask questions. Well, I see no questions, but...
Someone raised their hand, but then I think they took it down.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw a hand for a minute there, or a second. You can also like unmute
Yeah, so
yourself.
hi.
Hi,
Hi.
go ahead.
So I don't know if this was answered already, so I apologize. But so for these research centers, are students involved like across the year, or is it like a semester sort of time period? And that's like my first question. And the second one, real quick, is once students are in these research centers, are they able to sort of kickstart their own sort of research if there's something that they're really interested in? Like, Professor Garcia just mentioned she's doing some field work and, people that got their housing rehoused. And if people are interested in some of these topics and want to dig a bit deeper into them, and it's not necessarily sort of the direction that the center as a whole is going into, can they like explore that?
I'll go ahead
Yeah.
and answer that since I'm unmuted. And then if others want to weigh in, feel free. But yes, absolutely. And we encourage that, in fact. So students aren't automatically assigned to a research center, but very often the faculty member who is their mentor will be a faculty fellow in one or more of these centers. For example, I direct the Center for Housing and Urban Development, but I'm also a senior fellow with the Hazard Reduction and Recovery, and I'm even a fellow with the Center for Heritage Conservation because my research areas kind of cover multiple centers. But students really have an opportunity to work with the centers when they are on funded research projects, and particularly the externally funded research projects. Like the Hispanic Housing Studies is funded by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. And so the students that I hire are specifically to work on that project. Now, some students who receive assistantships from their departments may also be assigned as research assistants to faculty members and may also have an opportunity to work on those research projects. Like I have students who are funded by the department that also work on my research projects. And we encourage students to find their own project within that. That's probably the most efficient way to complete a dissertation. In fact, for PhD students, is to work on a funded project, but then have your own piece that takes the research in a direction that is unique to you, that you have defined, that you are interested in studying. And that way you get supported financially and with a research infrastructure to do your own project that also contributes to the larger project that you're funded off of. Not every student is able to do that, but that is the most efficient way to complete a dissertation. Oh, and then you also asked about whether it's just for a semester or if it's longer. And it really depends. Most often for PhD students, it would be for at least a year. But it really depends on how long the research project goes. Because with external funding, we may have 1 year of funding, we may have 2 years of funding. Really, the longest is typically 3 or 4 years, although I have had projects that lasted 10 years, but that's very unusual. And it was really 2 5-year projects that back to back. So that's unusual. And so the funding may end, and so the project may end. But I think all of our faculty work very hard to continue getting grants so that we can continue to support our students. Even though in the current climate, it's more difficult or more challenging to get funding, we're still working very hard to make sure that we can continue to fund our students and looking for new places that are willing to fund the kind of research that we do. Yeah, I don't know if Wei or Tasneem want to add to that.
Yeah, I agree with Dr. Vatsan about funding associated with centers or PIs with their funded projects. In addition, there are some centers, for example, the CRI Center has the so-called fellowship, which can be granted for the first year and renewed for the second year. The students can have their topics relatively independent from the center's major projects. So the students are, we use the freedom to have their novel ideas to become the research topic, and then spend two years of time focusing on the research with potential extended support from the center or from the department with TA positions or with other fundings. So that is another opportunity. And the university provides graduate fellowship. In this year, for example, one of our PhD students received the Texas A&M University System Dissertation Excellence Scholarship, which is like a full ride scholarship, can fund students for 3 years. But students really have very much independent topic to explore. So that's another opportunity students can consider.
Excellent. Are there any other questions? Thanks for the question, Hans. Another question that is listed there is like, what are some of the skills students need to work in a research center? So anyone that would like to talk about that, where you look to hire someone in a research center?
Well, I will step in. I can always be relied upon to answer questions. But and it's hard to tell. You know, different projects require different skills. And as we were talking about earlier, in terms of things to highlight on your CV or your resume, we are often interested in students with quantitative skills related to different software packages. It might be remote sensing. It might be building information modeling. It might be statistics. Python coding, things like that. Those can always be useful, especially for some of us who are older. I mean, not everyone who's older doesn't have those skills, but like I don't have a lot of those computer-based skills. And so it helps me to have students who can do that. I know what I want them to do, but to actually have them go do it is really helpful. But we also are interested in students who have field experience, doing community interviews, talking to people, leading workshops. All of those sorts of things are very helpful for us. We don't always have time to go into the field, especially if it's at a distance, which a lot of times it is, because we're not isolated in Bryan College Station, but we're a relatively mid-sized community in a very large populous state. And so we're often sending people to other parts of the state and sometimes other parts of the nation and even other parts of the world. And it can be difficult for us to go. And so being able to send senior students into the field to lead projects can be helpful. So project management experience is also helpful. But then writing skills can be great too, to do things like literature reviews or writing reports. So all of those things are worth highlighting in your CV. But you never know kind of what somebody's looking for, because I may have a student already that does certain things, and so I may be looking for someone who does something different, but that the project demands. And so it's really driven by the research projects that we have going on.
Oh, great. And then, yeah, Dr. Yan, would you like to add? See, you muted yourself. And then we have also a question.
Just adding a little bit, some students with computational design method skills could also support the development of design tools. So we do, in the CRI Center, for example, create prototypes of design processes or tools. The development skills of the digital tools would be very helpful.
Oh, thank you. And I see that Abdul has a question, and then Hassan posted a question on the chat. But Abdul, you want to ask your question?
Hello. First of all, thank you for this insightful session. And actually, I have a question because I am little confused about one thing. Because as my previous background is quite interdisciplinary, well, I am a civil engineer. Then I have worked in the field for almost 3 years in urban planning and designing wet utilities. And then currently I'm about to complete my master's in project management, which itself is a very interdisciplinary and vast course. So I'm just confused, like either your institute is orthodox about masters, or they see whole profile while admitting a student for PhD studies, because I could relate myself to uh, one or two courses that I think like I am eligible for, but I'm not sure like either you guys are particularly orthodox, like if a guy is having that sort of mixed background, he's eligible, or either he should have done exact masters in urban planning or something like this. Thank
Want me to
you.
take that, Evis?
Yes.
Okay, so great question. I think probably a lot of people on this call may have the same kind of issue where they're not sure which program is right for them. And we definitely want to help you choose the right program. A lot of people may be choosing between a PhD in urban and regional science or a PhD in architecture. There can be a lot of overlap in the areas that you might want to study. The thing to look at is the faculty who are in each department, and not only what they are interested in studying, but how they study it. So urban and regional science tends to be more social science oriented, where we are training people to do quasi-experimental and other kinds of research on people. We may also be including things like building performance or things like that, especially related to hazards or housing. But you may also find people who are interested in building performance in either architecture or construction science. So you want to look at the faculty, look at some of their publications, and read them to see how they are doing their research. What kinds of methods are they using to do their research? Even what kinds of backgrounds they themselves have, if they have engineering degrees or they have more physical science related degrees versus social science related degrees, that may be a clue as to whether they're going to be a better fit for you. But for a PhD program, the most important thing is that you have a faculty member who can advise you and who is doing the kind of work that you want to do. And that may be in really any of our 3 departments and even beyond, engineering programs, geography programs, geosciences programs. There may be other places that are doing the kind of work that you want. We are flexible on what students do, but we really want to have students who are consistent with our approach to research and can help us with our own research projects, even add something that we don't currently have, but not necessarily to take a whole new approach to something, because we're going to continue to work the way that we have been working, although we are trying to adjust to new technologies and things like that. But I think, depending on what your research interest is, you could fit in any of our 3 departments. And the best way to decide is to look at the faculty and see who's doing the kinds of things that you want to do.
Yeah, thank you so much for your response. Actually, I found a few matches for me, but I was confused, because I got to do some research and I found some institutes are particularly quite orthodox about master's background. But I was to ask, if a guy is having ample skills and he's having a sort of multi-skill background, So either you guys are flexible or not to admit him. And the second, and there is one more question, a brief one. Like I heard the previous session and everything in it, but I am not sure about recommendations. Like either we have to get our previous professors or work employees in loop to submit it online, or we have to get letters in advance from them.
Yeah, so there's a system in where you submit all your materials, and this includes a portion in where you basically send an email to the faculty, and then the faculty needs to upload the letter of recommendation into the system. Now, if let's say that you're applying for the PhD in urban planning, or urban and regional sciences, so they need to get everything, including the letters of recommendation, by December 1st. So this is why you need to tell them way in advance. But again, everything is done through electronic portal, so you don't really need to mail anything in paper. I hope that
Okay,
answers your
thank you.
question, Abdul. Yes, you're welcome. So maybe we have like 4 more minutes. I'm waiting to see if there's like other ones that might join for the next session, which is like the breakout. So if anyone else has like any other questions, maybe have time for one more question.
I probably just want to add a little to the question about the interdisciplinary background fitting to which program. So I think I agree with Dr. Van Zandt that the students should talk with faculty to try to align their interests. And also the students don't be afraid if you enter one program and later you want to switch to another one. A&M has the system or mechanism to help you do that. So you can actually explore in your first year or first semester different courses in different departments and see your interests and attend different like seminars and see different professors or PIs projects to find your real interest and then make decision a little later.
Although I will note that just because you've been admitted to one PhD program does not automatically mean that you would be admitted to another one. We would need to review your materials and make sure that you're a good fit.
Yeah, also, this is Rifat Blue from Construction Science. That switch could be problematic for some faculty, especially if the student is sponsored on a funded research project. Yes, it is. Students are free. They can move from one program to another if they satisfy the admission requirements, but that will be a big problem for certain faculty members.
That's right.
And there's one question here about do the research centers collaborate on occasion depending on the projects? For example, CHOP and HRRC overlap on topics like resilience. Yeah, I think that the answer is yes.
Yes,
we're like,
but yes, both Dr. Garcia and I do that all the time. Like, I don't even know which of my projects are, like, they can be affiliated with either one. Financially, it makes a difference because we get, when we have a grant come through a center, a little bit of that money goes to the center and helps support the center, support staff and other resources. But in terms of the way that the research gets done, we do it all the time, because both Dr. Garcia and I work on housing and disasters. Sometimes it's more housing related, sometimes it's more disaster related, but usually it's a mix of both. And so we do whatever suits the students' needs or the audience that they want to speak to through their research. They may choose one affiliation or another. I have to think all the time about which center I'm representing on a particular day, depending on who I'm talking to and what I'm talking about.
All right. Well, thank you so much to all the research centers and programs that presented. So the next session is going to be breakouts. For the breakouts, it's like just you have like representatives here from, and I just divided like 6 rooms. So I will have just the Masters of Architecture, regardless if it's like Masters of Science in Architecture. And then we have like the PhD in Architecture. So I just divided Masters, PhD basically. For Masters in Construction and PhD in Construction and Masters in Urban Planning and PhD in Urban Planning. I see that Bruce is also here. So I see nobody that I know, Bruce, and I told you this, was interested in the Masters of Landscape Architecture, but maybe. And then, so the idea here is that then the students will choose then to go to the room that they want. And then what I'm thinking is that because like there was like, I think like there's like 30, like about 30 students that registered, and there was like interested of, 1 or 2 students interested in each, and then a lot interested in the PhD in urban planning. And then, so what I will say is that just pick the program that you're mostly interested in, and then for the different coordinators or representatives, you can also like go to the room, and then if nobody joins, you will be free to go. So, because after this, we just break out and we don't come back to this room. I already told the students like what are the next steps. So the next steps is I will match you with like a mentor, and that you're supposed to meet with them. It's like 3 times until you apply, 30 minutes, plus you have other 3 talks that we will do together as webinars. And there's additional opportunities that I will send you from the graduate school because they do their own programming as well. So those are kind of like the next steps. But for now, if you come back, nobody's gonna be in the main room because I'm going to go to the Masters of Urban Planning. And then we're supposed to end like about 11:50. So at that time, everybody can just like break out and leave. So I think everybody could go there. What I will do is I will stay here just maybe 5 minutes or maybe 3 minutes. So if you're in urban planning and our students are going there, just know that I will be there like in 3 minutes or so, or maybe 5 minutes, to see if I need to help anyone, but I will be going there. And then again, if you're a coordinator and you end up being lonely in the room, so I would say that you can just like leave. And then I know that some of you might be that you don't know which one to go, so I will say just like select the one that you're more interested in. The other thing I wanted to say is that again, if you're very interested in design but you're applying for the urban planning, maybe landscape architecture would be good for you, so you could try there to be there since Bruce is like here. And the other thing is like if you have a background like PhD in architecture, which I mean masters in architecture, which I saw many of you fit that profile, you might want to explore the PhD in architecture. And the reason I say that is because also there's a lot of you interested in urban planning. So in a way, you might be, I don't know, I didn't know how to say this, but you might increase your chances, like, because again, there's so many of you interested in the urban PhD in urban planning. So I don't know if there's any questions before I open all the rooms. So just like, again, you are free to go to any room. I will see if I can help you out. I think that, hold on. Okay, I think that I did the assignments. Sorry. I'm like trying to see if there's a, okay. Oh, it's a let participants choose room. That's what I chose. Okay. Never mind. I think that I have to do this again. I'm so sorry.
I think you just need to open all the rooms and then we'll go to the rooms.
Yeah, but when I set it up wrong. So, I'll do this real quick, okay? And then if people need to stay more than 11:50, that's fine. But again, for some of the students, it's literally going to be midnight by the time that you finish here. So yeah. And then for the masters in construction, I know that there's online, but I just kind of like put it together because students might not know if they want to do online or not. Okay. I think okay. So you cannot select where to go, right? Or you can?
If they scroll to the bottom of the list, they'll see all the room names and they can join from there.
Oh, okay. That's how it was before. I don't know what changed, but I think I got confused because it says
There's no
unassigned.
breakout, absolutely, but we need to see a breakout room. Okay, so if they go into more, they should see breakout room. Yeah, so we can just join there. That sounds great. Do you want us to just go now?
Yeah.
Okay. So
yes.
yeah, just if you guys just see that sounds good. We'll be there.
Yeah. I don't know why I cannot see it. Okay. Okay, so I think that I might help people here. Like, is it Chin? Do you need help? No. Chin, do you need help or you want to be assigned somewhere? And then Watson, do you need help? Where do you like to go to the PhD, right? In urban planning? I think I put you there. So you just like go to, you should be able to see the breakout room and then just go that, find where to go. Does that make sense? Chin Ming, where you like to go? I can just assign you somewhere. And then Taiwo, where you like to go? Like Wubetu, where you wanna go? And Adita, tell me. Yeah, where you like to go? I cannot hear you. Is the PhD in urban regional science? Adita, where you like to go? You can also put in the chat so I can just assign you. Okay, Masters of Urban Planning for B2. Okay. I'll send you there, but I will go there in a little bit. Did you see it? I hope that you saw it. And then Adita, so PhD, Urban Reader Science. Okay. I assign you there. I think you still need to choose to go there when you go to the breakout room. And then Taiwo, I don't see like where you like to go.
I would like to go for the PhD in urban and regional sciences.
Okay, so I sent you there, but like you still
Okay.
need to choose to go there, or there's a thing that pop ups and said that you should go there. And then Peter, where you like to go? Peter, which program are you interested in?
Masters in urban regional planning.
Okay, I'll send you there. I'll go there in a bit. And then Chish, Mean, where you like to go? You can put it in the chat, or if you can unmute yourself, I think you're muted. Let me see based on like your application. Okay, it's yeah, PhD. Okay, so I'll send you there. I hopefully you'll make it there, but I need to. So you should be able to see. And then Peter, I already like sent you there, so you need to go to more, and then find the breakout room. Okay. But I have to go to the yeah, planning one, so I have to leave this room. But the instructions are right here, because you should be able to find it. You can also search like online how to do it, but basically just go to the more button and then breakout rooms. Okay.